Midjourney has released their latest model, version 7, but how does it stack up after OpenAI's crazy viral ChatGPT ImageGen model released just a couple of weeks ago? Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief Headlines Edition, all the daily AI news you need in around 5 minutes. Big model release day here on the AI Daily Brief. Our main episode is all about Meta's Llama 4, and Midjourney also has released their first new model in almost a year. Called V7, the model is obviously incredibly gorgeous. It's hugely capable in both photorealism as well as stylized modes. It features things like voice prompting, image personalization based on your own preferences, and multiple speed settings. The new model doesn't really introduce any novel features, it's just a better version of the Midjourney experience that has been so popular so far. Now, of course, the context for this is very different in the wake of OpenAI's ImageGen release. Indeed, when that came out and was using a different approach than diffusion, many wondered if the AI approach that underpins Midjourney was going away, to be supplanted by natively multimodal image generation. Swix even tagged in David Holds, the founder of Midjourney, and said, "I try not to drink hyperbole, but will Midjourney go the same way? Now that we have this in Gemini 4.0, I don't see how I ever go back to anything else." David's one-word answer was, nah. On the release of V7, he wrote, "This is an entirely new model with unique strengths and probably a few weaknesses. We want to learn from you what it's good and bad at, but definitely keep in mind it may require different styles of prompting. So play around a bit." The reaction was honestly a little mixed. Content creator Freebatar wrote, "2-year Midjourney power user. Gotta say it, kinda disappointed. OpenAI set the bar sky high. Talk to your ImageGen like it's your bro, mine equals blown. MJ7 looks more realistic, but did we really need that? Midjourney plus Magnific already nailed it. Might pause my sub to be honest." Yavi Lopez, the founder of Magnific, added, "Yep, I mostly agree, but Midjourney still has that super cool artistic aesthetic and richness of styles. Though to be fair, they already had that in version 6.1 and previous. The problem is V7 doesn't really feel like V7. It feels more like version 6.2. Jamie Ortega spotlighted, "They knew it wasn't ready yet, which is why it wasn't released. Then 4.0 ImageGen took off and they were forced to put out whatever they had to gain momentum. It's just a retaliatory move and a poor one at that." Professor Ethan Malik wrote, "I'm a big fan of Midjourney if you want to do visually interesting AI images and have been using it since 2022. I like their new release, but the problem with the new V7 release today is that V6 was already really good. Experimenting will be fun though." Tatiana Sigaleva, however, the creative ambassador at Perplexity, doesn't know what everyone's complaining about, posting, "My mind is blown exploring Midjourney V7. Huge jump in quality. Planning to have a lot of fun this weekend." Now, I've been thinking a lot about Midjourney ever since the release of the new ImageGen. On the one hand, the style and aesthetic and quality of Midjourney continues to just be tops for me relative to the other image generation models out there, and when I have any sort of deep creative or artistic project, it's still my go-to. However, even before ImageGen, I had found myself switching almost entirely to Ideogram when it came to day in and day out type of usage. Now, a big part of that was that Ideogram had better text adherence, so I could actually create cover images for podcasts and YouTube videos and things like that, which is a primary use case for me. But part of it is that it just had much better adherence to my prompt. It always felt to me like I was fighting with Midjourney, like it thought it knew better than I did how to make something cool. And so when I was willing to let the AI kind of do its thing, it was still great for that. It's getting harder and harder though now with ImageGen coming out, because not only now do those other tools have better prompt adherence, you also have the ability for inline editing where you can just talk at it and it actually makes the changes you want. That is so transformative and so different across so many different use cases. It makes the band of things that I want Midjourney for more and more narrow. I've generated tens of thousands of images on Midjourney, absolutely love it, and I'm a person who has no problem spending money on multiple different subscriptions. But even I myself am wondering at what point I'm going to pause Midjourney because I'm just not using it enough anymore. Midjourney is also interesting just as a case study. The company is bootstrapped and highly profitable, so it's not clear that they actually need to do anything other than maintain being a useful model. Back in December, David Holtz wrote, "By VC standards, we should either conquer the world or die in a fire, and neither of these are spiritually compelling to me. I never wanted a company, I just wanted a home. At this point, we have a large and loyal paid community, we build tons of features for them, and they're pretty happy. We have enough revenue to fund tons of crazy R&D, and our models are still the best by the metrics we care about, which is how the images look and how fun it is to make things. We have a huge backlog of exciting things to make our models way better. Zero risk, we did this all with no investors. Honestly, it feels like we are successful. The next metric of success I think about most is a big, well-funded R&D lab with cool people free to work on whatever they want. Can we now build something that would make baby David proud? Can we now tell bold stories about a human future that people want to be part of? I think we can. And I think it's awesome that we have a company that's really pushing the boundary of doing it this way. At the same time, I will be interested to see how durable that large and loyal paid community is as all these things change around them. Next up, at an event celebrating their 50th anniversary, Microsoft has rolled out the agents. Copilot is now able to handle internet use with agentic features allowing the model to book tickets, reserve restaurants, and more. The feature is configured to work in the background so you can keep working on other tasks while having an agent run digital errands. The agentic assistant also now has memory so it can remember the user preferences between sessions. Microsoft has also introduced a podcast generation feature similar to Google's audio overviews, and Copilot now finally also has a deep research feature. Now, of course, none of these features are pushing the limits. Basically, they just represent Microsoft keeping up with their AI rivals. Then again, as we see Apple and Amazon and their struggles, being able to offer feature-complete agentic AI if these things really work would still be a great deal better than some of the other big tech firms are doing. What's more, Microsoft AI CEO Mustafa Suleyman clearly sees the importance of agents, commenting, "I think that this will completely change the way we use computers forever." And speaking of Microsoft, the company is getting back in the game with an AI-generated version of Quake 2. They released a tech demo of the classic 90s shooter powered by its Muse generative game model. The demo is very basic, has blurry enemies, low resolution, and only replicates a single level, but it's still a playable game generated frame by frame using AI. Back in February, when Muse was first unveiled, Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer said, "You could imagine a world where from gameplay data and video that a model could learn old games and make them portable to any platform where these models could run. We've talked about game preservation as an activity for us, and these models and their ability to learn completely how a game plays without the necessity of the original engine running on the original hardware opens up a ton of opportunity." Many claim that this was not technically possible at the time, but the Quake demo seems to be a viable if limited proof of concept. Researchers wrote in a blog post, "Much to our initial delight, we were able to play inside the world that the model was simulating. We could wander around, move the camera, jump, crouch, shoot, and even blow up barrels similar to the original game. Additionally, since it features in our data, we can also discover some of the secrets hidden in this level of Quake 2. At the same time, they were careful not to oversell the technology. They wrote that they didn't intend to fully replicate the original game, and that the demo should be thought of as, quote, playing the model as opposed to playing the game." Derek Strickland wrote, "I'm trying the Quake thing and Gen AI is just so weird. It's like playing a dream where you turn around and things are different, never-ending hallways, etc. I know it's experimental, but it's still freaky." And indeed, whereas most of the conversation around this is just how useful it is for game preservation, I think it's much more interesting as an early example of what it's going to look like to generate games on the fly. A big part of my thesis for how the world evolves is more and more custom experiences, and part of that is going to be, I think, live generation of those experiences based on the user that's actually experiencing it. This is a very small step in that direction, but a step nonetheless. That, however, is going to do it for today's AI Daily Brief Headlines edition. Next up, the main episode.